Greetings, code traders. It's Thursday, January 31st, 2019. Taking an entry here to go long. Got a code 1 long signal here. Looking for a code 3 signal. Be right back. Actually, I have two code 1 long entries. By the way, this also happens to be a code 2 trade as well. So there are three different types of codes you can use. You can use the code 1. You can use the code 2, and of course you can use the code 3, which is brand new. By the same token, you can also use, let's say they can use them in combination. So for instance, you can use the code 1 into a code 2 trade, or you can use, or you can use a code 3 entry into a code 2 trade. Right now what I've done is used a code 1 entry into a code 2 trade. I'm now looking for a signal from code 3. If code 3 says it's going to continue to go up because it gives a long entry, then I know I can just hold it here, we're good to go. Obviously if it says a short entry, then I'm going the wrong direction. But now let's take a look at the daily. Zoom out a little bit. You can see yesterday we had a nice green bar and we moved higher than the previous high. We had broken out of the range. Now we're working on a green bar right now, going up. There's a pretty good chance that it will continue. And if it does, we're going to nail it right here. This also happens to be a code 2 trade, so we also know by default that we can make a lot of ticks on this trade if we have the direction right now. So we're using the code 1 as direction. We now have 3 code 1 long entries. We don't have any code 1 short entries at all. Only code 1 long entries. We still do not have a code 3 signal yet. I'm using code 1 entry here. I could have gotten in even earlier, down to around 10 ticks earlier, 54, 60, or 54, even 53. I could have gotten in. Let's just call it 54. So about 10 ticks ahead, I could be even more right now. If I had used another code 1, I had used the second code 1. Because as I teach in my code 1 course, that whenever you see the code 1s acting together, they're going to go in a big direction in that way. Whenever they're given the same signal over and over again. So they were saying long entry, long entry, long entry. It's going to keep going and go long a lot, go up a lot. Vice versa, same thing with the downside. Keeps giving shorts, it's going to go down. Otherwise, what it'll do is one will give a long, and then maybe another long, then a short, and then maybe another short, and then a long. I mean, it'll just go back and forth, so to speak. Otherwise, when it makes its good size moves, it's always giving signals to go in that direction. And today, the code 1 seems to be working perfectly. So far, it's working perfectly. So it's always good to follow it when it's working perfectly, because it doesn't always work perfectly. Some days it's offset, and you'd have to learn how to read the offsets, which is a bit tricky to do. You can, of course, mathematically figure out the exact code 1 if you so wanted to do. That's very, very valuable to do. And I'm hoping to do it with the charting, but I don't think I'm going to be able to, because at the time it needs to be done, which is now, it's almost 9:30 here at night. So I'd have to get people to work at nighttime to do the charting, and that's not so easy to do. I'd have to get people not to do the charting, I'm sorry, to do the code 1 break, because you have to break it in real time. You have to break it in real time, and then you only have a certain amount of time on which to use it. It doesn't last for very long. By the time we break it, you're only going to have about, let me think about this for a second. You'll only have about a maximum of an hour and a half or so to use it. That's all. And sometimes even only an hour. That's all. You have 1 hour to use the code 1, and that's it. It won't be good anymore. You have to re-break it again because they change it. So you have to do it in real time. It has to be done as quickly as possible. It's not easy to do. It takes a lot of effort to break the code. But it can be done. I mean, people do it all the time. It just, after you do it for a while, it gets really monotonous. So even hiring people to do it every day is really, a monotonous thing to ask them to do. But it can be done, and it's very valuable if you know. But the thing is, I stopped doing that because you really don't need it. You really don't need it. I mean, Code 2 is better anyway. Even Code 3 is much better. And even free trading the code is better, because that opens you up. Now you don't have to worry about being 100% accurate. You can be 70% accurate and do really super good and take a lot more trades. By the way, we do have a Code 1 short entry. I may jump out. Let's see if it gets, it might be offset. It's a possibility. Let me take a look if I can find any others that are offset. It's hard to tell because they changed the Code 1. I think I'm going to jump out. It starts heading down. I'm just going to go out. They changed the Code 1 every 3 hours. So it takes like about an hour and a half to break the code, and then you got about an hour and a half left. But sometimes I just jumped out. I got a Code 1 short entry. I don't want to. We might get a Code 3 short signal, and if not, then we'll get a Code 3 long signal. So either way, we're going to get a Code 3 signal now, and I'll just wait for that to come. So anyway, you can see though the codes are really involved. There's a lot about the codes to learn. It's because it represents what should I call it? Programming. It represents a programming, and you just have to learn how it was programmed. I don't mean the technical aspect of programming itself, but the tells that the programming leaves behind. You have to learn those tells and how to read them. Actually, they're not difficult at all, really. But I have recently discovered and talked about recently how different people are seeing different things via different brokers. Now, is that bizarre or what? Also, apparently through MT4, I don't know if the person was doing it wrong or what, but through Skype, they're seeing something totally different than what I'm seeing, and that would completely mess up the code. NinjaTrader, they do see something different. Now you can compensate for it, but it is sort of a I mean, I wouldn't want to have to do it. I wouldn't want to have to compensate for it, but you can compensate for it. But it's just sort of a pain, TradeStation, they also see something different, just like NinjaTrader, same thing. But with MT4, they were seeing something completely different. I mean, I don't know if they were using the wrong contract, or if maybe they were using a different oil, WTI or Brent instead of CL, light sweet crude. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there. It's just weird stuff going on. So, hmm, I could make a recommendation to those of you who can't do it. Get on this trading platform, OEC Trader. You can go through GFF Brokers out of Los Angeles. Talk with Rick Contra. He'll get you all set up with the software and everything. Tell me you want the OEC Trader software, same software as my website, and he'll hook you up. You can also go through other brokers that have the same software, because if you have the same software, then you are, when I tell you what the code is and you use this software, you're going to be seeing the right code. So if you are using something different, it is a somewhat of a, well, it's sort of like a risk, because okay, even to make the compensation from the NinjaTrader to this is very confusing. In fact, I was confused by it. I told the client, which is a woman, that yeah, you do it this way, and then she came back and said, no, it would be the other way. And I said, no, it would be this way. You would compensate. And she said, no, it would be this way. And so I started to think again. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm showing this and you're showing this, that means that you're showing this. So that means when I'm here, you're really here. And I thought about it for a second. I said, oh, you're right. You would look at it that way. I say, man, you can get confused by that so easily. So, yeah, it's a pain. Okay, so once you know, you can compensate somewhat easy. I think. I've never actually done it. But in theory, you could compensate pretty easy for it. But it's just the idea of the uncertainty of it all now. Whereas, if you're dealing with a code here which does need to be actually it needs to be very precise. There is no room for error in using the code. So if you're having something different, then there's all this uncertainty, this error in there, that maybe possibly you're not even doing it right. So I'll go ahead and recommend that you get this software, if at all possible. Some people around the world can't get it. What you could try to do maybe is, hang on. Okay, we got a code. Got a long entry here. Be right back. Okay, so this is a code 3 long entry. By the way, this isn't just a code 3 long entry here. This is a code 3 long entry into a code 2 trade. In other words, it's going to win. It's just a matter of how many ticks it's going to win for. That's the only question. And you know that through the charting. That's what the charting service is for. So again, this is using a code 3 entry as taught within the code 3 course into a code 2 trade. Now this actually will work with everything. You just have to know what the code 2 is for each individual instrument, which can only be found out through tracking it. And you have to mathematically, just like you mathematically figure out the code 1, you do the same thing with the code 2. You have to mathematically figure it out. Which isn't as hard as what it sounds. But it's not as hard as code 1, that's for sure. Code 1 is somewhat difficult to track or to figure out the code 1. It takes a lot of effort, whereas the code 2 is relatively simple. So, but once you know what the code 2 is, like for instance, I know what the code 2 is for oil. Once you know what it is, you can use the code 2. You can use the code 3 entry into a code 2 trade very easily. So you only take one trade. And if you know how many ticks it's going to be good for, then you can calculate how many ticks to go for. Not based upon your entry. First you have to calculate from where it started from. Then you're going to know where the code's at. Then you're going to know how many ticks it is going to go on average. Take that average, put it to how many ticks it's going to go. Now you figure out where your entry is, or you look where your entry is, and you look relative to where the exit's going to be, where it's going to go to. That's your exit. That's how many ticks you can go for. It's relative to your entry. Now usually with the code 3, your entry is nowhere near as good as the code 2, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it is good. On this particular one, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So, I'm not giving up that many ticks. Actually, okay, my first one wasn't bad, but my second one is. My second one is kind of bad. This one I got here is kind of bad. But the first one was pretty good. It was only, 10 ticks previous to it, so you're not giving up that many ticks. This code right here is probably going to be good for 100 ticks, although I have not been tracking it. How many ticks did it go yesterday? Just take a look at the bar, 53. That's not very much. Wait a second. Oh, okay. 50, yeah, okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's about like average, actually. 53, yeah, that's about average. So, this one's still got a long ways to go. Low to the high is... Okay, so it's got about 80 ticks to go. 80 ticks. What's the current thing is about? Okay, so that puts me at about... Yeah, just about 100 ticks, almost 100 ticks. Call it 90 ticks. I think we can stretch it to 100. So I'm going to go for 100 ticks on this trade. See if we get it. I'm just going to come close. Maybe only 90, maybe 80. Actually, once it breaks out right there and starts to go up, it could go up quite a lot. So we need to watch out for a big trade to come. Doesn't look like it right now, but it could develop. It could easily happen. And what you'd start to see, if that happened, was, irrespective of the code, it would move up. I mean, like, let's go take a look at the 10-minute. It would start to make some moves up, like maybe a 30-tick move up, 40-tick move up, relatively quickly, and then it would just keep on going. And it would make a big day for today, and go up a bunch of ticks like this one. See, it's hardly even moved yet. But that's what would happen if it did do that kind of a day. When those days come, you really want to be able to recognize them, and you can recognize them by what I just said. They'll start to move up and just keep on going. You need to learn what they look like, what they feel like, and use the code. The code already gets you in, but you'll hang on to them if you learn to see them. And you can say, hey, I think maybe this is one of those big days. You look to see where you're in at. If you're in here and it's only moved that much, you can make a lot of ticks from here. You don't come around every day, but when they do, you want to try to hit them. The next time I see one, if I'm trading, I'll get in and show it to you, what it looks like. So right now, this one doesn't look like it's hit at all, but it could change. But anyway, this is the best way to trade right here, to use the code 3 entry into the code 2 trade. When you get better, you can use code 1 and do even better. I mean code 1 entry into a code 2 trade. But the best way to trade is to use the code 2, whether it be oil or anything else. Remember all these trades you see me take on YouTube where I win the trade so easily in one trade? This is it. This is a code 2 trade. This is it right here. This is the trade you see me take all the time. But I'm using, on this particular one, my entry here, I'm using a code 3 entry into it. I initially used a code 1 and got stuck, or I jumped back out. But what did it do? It kept going up. But I got a code 1 short, and it only went down a little bit and kept going back up. Should have held on to it, but anyway, if I had used a code 3, this is where I'd be in at, and I wouldn't have lost so far at all. By the way, everything else is going down, the YM, the ES, the RTY, all going down. It's because they have a different code 2. And actually all of them have, well, some of them do have the same code 2, But I'm not sure about that. Same code 2 on certain days. I'm not sure if it's the same code 2 every day. I think that they might change. But there's definitely different ones that have a different code 2. I've discovered at least 3 so far. Oil, and then 2 of the main ones had different code 2s. So the only way to know exactly is to track it. And that takes a lot of work. So I am hiring people to do it. Okay, it's moving up here. And so again, this is a code 2 trade, so it's just a question of how many ticks it's going to be good for. Now, usually I would know because I would have done the charting, but I haven't been doing the charting. I just went back and figured out what the code 2 was so I could use it. But it would take me more work and more time to figure out what it was actually worth. That's why it really needs to be done every day. That way you can figure it out day by day, and then you can look back at it and say, okay, you know, it's worth an average of 100 ticks or 80 ticks, or its range is 60 ticks to 130 ticks, or whatever it might be. And so I don't really know exactly what it is that it's good for, but as a general rule, and I would say, and right now, and especially with this trade here, 100 ticks is a good one to go for. Maybe more if it breaks here, or it's already broken. But if it continues to go up, let's say it starts to get hot, starts to really get hot, and starts to really move up 30, 40 ticks in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that, and jumps and doesn't come back down, just keeps going, slowly maybe, but just keeps going. I would go for more than just 100, and it could happen. Could happen right now. Okay, how many ticks is that? Getting close. How about another 30 ticks up? Let's take a look at the 10 minute. How many ticks is that? 80 up to, that's 20, that's 30 ticks. That's a good start. That's a good start right there. It doesn't necessarily mean it is the trade yet. What we would look for now is for it to just keep continuing. That it doesn't really come down, just stays up at the top of the daily right there, doesn't really come down much at all, and just keeps making higher highs. Just like in stocks, you look for the same exact thing. The same thing here. Only now we're just, the only thing we're trying to do now, we're already in the code 2 trade, we already know it's going to go up a certain amount of ticks. We're just trying to figure out, is it going to maybe be a big day, like a 300 tick day, 400 tick day, that type of thing. Because you really don't want to miss those when they come. So let's just say that today is going to be that day. I would like to be able to tell you about it. Right now it's not doing bad at all. Looking pretty good. I would need to see it just keep continuing. Let's see, what am I looking at? That's the okay, this is a 10. Yeah, it looks good. It looks pretty good. I'm talking about for a big trade. It doesn't really look like it yet, like one of these big trades yet. But again, as I said, that could change. It could change right here. Just keep on going. Make another move. Then you know it is. Now, these big trades also come in another way too. They're a little bit harder to see. But what will happen is it will just slowly inchworm its way up. You can kind of see it on the 1 minute. Here's a 1 minute chart. On here you'll see it'll just slowly inchworm its way up, which is sort of what it's doing right now. It's coming down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's just sort of like moving up and not moving down much at all. If it continues to do that, that's another way that it will make a big move up. Like have a big, big day. It'll just keep doing that the whole time. And just keep going up. So, but we have the luxury of being able to sit here in a code 2 trade and not even have to worry about it. In fact, if we wanted to, we could just walk away. Walk away and let it go up and hit the 100 ticks. That's what's nice about the code 2. And at this point, you could put a break-even stop on it, no problem, and let it go. Either make it to the 100 ticks or back to the break-even stop, whichever one comes first. That's the beauty of code 2. The beauty of code 3 is being able to take that entry and not get it wrong. Otherwise, you could use a code 1 entry, but as you see, I got one wrong. You could get it wrong. Actually, I didn't get the code 1 entry wrong. It was right. It was just me that bailed out. Let's see here. Let's see how it's coming down a little bit. You're just going to watch to see now if it won't continue to go back up and go break that high again. It'll just keep doing that over and over again when it's one of those days where it just keeps when it's one of those days on the daily, right? That it moves up like this or even like this. Those days just keeps making new highs. So we're already in. We don't have to worry about it. All we have to do is just watch it. And we watch it go up and break and make a new high. And then watch it go up and break and make a new high. And then you say to yourself, what's it doing? How's it acting? Is it acting like the kind of trade where it just keeps going up really big? Well, if it keeps doing that, yes, that is exactly what it does. Now you can even look at the codes if you want to. Look at the code 2, look at the code, well, you could look at the code 1 if you wanted to, but you don't need to when you're looking at it on a longer term like this. Just look at the code 2, for instance, and then you can see how many ticks it's good for. And sometimes code 2 is good for 200, 300, 400 ticks. What's it getting ready to do? Or where's it going? Going up. And if it goes up a little bit higher, it's going to go break that high again. See, this is how you break down trading into smaller segments of usable information. Little techniques that you can use that you don't miss big trades. Of course, the best thing to use, obviously, is the code. Get you in here. I was in earlier at 64 here. I was in here earlier, got shaken out. So there's your new high now. Let's see how it handles this break. Will it shoot up another 20, 30 ticks? Will it inchworm its way up? Or does it come back down again? There are other codes where it'll come back down, it keep breaking and come back down and mess around and go back up and, you know, and then come back down again and then mess around and go back up a little bit more and then come back down again. I mean, it just drives you nuts. And they're difficult to trade too. You know, you just want to use the code 2 on them, just forget it. You know, don't even bother watching it. There are other codes, like I was alluding to or talking about, that like this one, where it just keeps going in one direction. And it's inchworming its way up. Almost like an inchworm. They made a good move here. Inchworming its way up. And you can see it on the daily. Where are we at on the daily? Zoom in a little bit more. Where are we at? We're at the top of the daily. And pretty much the whole entire time on a bar like this, or even a bar like this, you're going to be at the top of the daily the whole time. It's just going to stay up there. That's another way you know. It just keeps making new highs, and you're at the top of a daily. Plus, I'm in a code 2 trade. Anyway, part of learning how to trade is not just learning the codes, it's learning the nuances to the markets. With the news, they know when the market's open, on Fridays and it gets choppy, and the Fridays is going to close early. The holidays, you got to take into account the holidays. You got to take it, if you're trading the YM, the Dow, and it's a holiday in the United States, well, it's not likely to move very much, during the USA session. And, you have to take these things into account. There's many things to take into account. Knowing the code isn't, enough. You need to know more knowledge of the markets themselves. Anyway, the real way to do this is to use the code 3 entry into a code 2 trade. When you become advanced and you know the code 1, you can look to see if the code 1 is working. Now sometimes you can't do that because, see, they change the code 1 every 3 hours. So if you get a code 2 trade and they just change the code, you're not going to know if the code 1 is working or not. So in that case, you can't use the code. Actually, you can. You could still use the code 1. You could look back. What did it do? If, let's say it's Thursday today, you could look back at the code and say, what did it do on Monday? Did code 1 work or no? Yes or no? What did it do on Tuesday? Code 1 work? Yes or no? If it didn't work, it probably won't work on Thursday either. But if it did work, it'll probably work on Thursday, because there'll be some weeks where it works, some weeks where it doesn't, and it goes in patterns like that. So by tracking it, you can see that. So you can say, oh, well, this week the code is offset, so you don't bother to use the exact code 1. You can just use code 3 and replace. Don't bother with it. Or if the code 1 is working, then you can rely that it's probably going to work tomorrow too, and you can just start using it. But you can also look and be more sure and just look to see, is it working? You say, yes, it is working. Okay, then use it. And I'm talking about free trading the code 1. I'm not talking about figuring it out mathematically. In other words, doing it the easy way. By the way, now all of the other instruments are all moving up. The YM is moving up, the ES is moving up, the RTY is moving up. And why? Well, because they use a different code 2. So, that brings upon another revelation. It is a possibility then that we could actually, by figuring out all the code 2s, whichever code 2 comes first, and we've broken that code 2 for that instrument, we then can use its direction to know which direction the other ones are going to go, because they all end up with the same charts every day. Have funny or what? See, there's all different kinds of ways to exploit this and take advantage of this, because it is a closed trading system. Now, if it wasn't a closed trading system and it was open, well, actually, in technicality, all systems are closed. But I'm talking about in realistic terms. It's closed and quantifiable mathematically, this system here. But a real trading system is not. Well, I say it's not quantifiable mathematically. It's not quantifiable mathematically in advance. Let's put it that way. There's no way to know in advance what it will do. Somebody could come in and sell 100 billion shares to the bid immediately and just completely tank it. Somebody could do the opposite and buy and just completely make it go higher. And as it goes up, they just keep buying right at the ass. They don't care. They don't put a limit order. They're just buying at market. And they're going to buy every share there is, even if it goes up $5, $10, $20. They don't care. Point being, in a real trading system, under real trading, you cannot tell what is going to happen for sure. It's mathematically impossible. Only under a closed trading system, as this one, can you tell what it will do before it will do it? Otherwise, it would not be possible. Anyway, we can. I'm not 100% sure about what I just said that we can use that, but I strongly suspect that we can, because I've been watching them all trading now on 6 different monitors at the same time. I can see them all trading at the same time, and I'm looking at the same chart so that I can see the code. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we can use it. See, but what I'm not sure is does one go first one week and then another one goes first another week? How does that work? Or is it possible that they make it really easy on us and one of them always goes first? Because if that be the case, then oh man, we're going to call that code 4. I mean, you know, because if that actually will work, we could get the jump on everything. In a sense, that would be even better than the straight code. Because like I said, remember oil was going up and the other ones were going down, where they're all shot way up now. We could have got in way early. The problem is, without tracking it, I won't know for sure if that works. The only way to know is to track it. And I'm not talking about back testing. I hate back testing. I want to see it work today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day. Only then can I be sure about what I'm seeing. When you go back in contracts under any futures, you are seeing something different. Because what happens is as you go back further and further in contracts month by month, it starts to lose its data. Yeah. And I'm not even 100% sure that the data is even, even correct, because as it changes from contract, it changes price, which will mess up the code. So I like to forward test it, not back test anything. And that's the way I've always done it. I never back test anything. You might be surprised by that, right? No, I've never back test anything. I only forward test. The only thing I back test is my own charts that I personally did in my charting service. That's the only thing that I trust. The only thing I can be sure of, that was taken at the time of that contract was active. That's what it looked like. That's the only thing I can be sure of. And my own charting that I broke the code and showed the code on the chart. So otherwise, the charts themselves, like this right here, I do not ever backtest. Only forward. Okay, so here this thing goes again up on the 10-minute. It's starting to approach the high again. Is it going to be just like the last one and just go ahead and break it? And do so easily? If it does, that is more and more of a sign that it's just going to continue to move higher in an inchworm type fashion, which you can sort of see again on the 1 minute. See? Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And will it go break now? What we're looking for is how strong does it look? Does it look really strong? Because sometimes they look really strong. Like this one. Sometimes they look like they even stronger, where they just start jumping. They jump up and they go sideways for a bit and they jump up again really big. I'm talking like maybe 40 to 60 tick jumps. And they jump up really big again. They go sideways for a bit and they jump up really big again. Those are different. Those are more special. This is more normal, like an inchworm type move up. It's been doing that lately a lot. So it's really normal right now what's happening. And it looks good. It looks good for a relatively large move up today. I wouldn't say the mathematics on it right now are super good. They're not, but it's promising. You need to develop more. But we're in a code 2 trade, so we know it's going to go up a certain amount already. And it has not gone up enough yet. Let me see. What's my entry? 75. I'm at about, let's say, 15 ticks. That's like 55 ticks now. It's not gone enough. It's only gone like 55 ticks so far. It's not enough. It needs to go at least another 30, I would say, if not 50 or more, for the code 2 to be over with. So that is a big advantage that we have with the code 2. We know how many ticks it's going to go, which you don't have with the code 3. Anyway, I will come back. You know what is really moving is the RTY. Really, really moving. The YM is also doing quite well. They both are 10-minute charts. Yeah, YM doing pretty good, but the RTY really running. The ES is doing good. Yeah. Yeah, the E, okay, let's see here. The ES and the RTY are almost identical. And then the YM doesn't look all that great. Let me see if I'm looking at the same. Yeah, it doesn't look that great. I mean, it looks okay, but it's not really running. Might be the same as oil. No, it's not the same. Yeah, the ES and the RTY look identical to each other. We'll find out once I do the codes whether or not they have the same code to them. They may. And then the YM looks different. I think it has a different code. And then of course oil looks different than all of them, and it has a different code too. Anyway, starting to they can move down here just to make sure we don't get a code 3 signal here. .53 50. If it hits 5502, that would be a code 3 signal to go short, at which point I would reverse the position. But that would mean that the code 2 would be over with. Could it be over with? Let me take a look at it. Hold on. Just going to do it while I'm on camera here. Okay, so taking a look at the code 2, 54, 54 up to 32, 35. It's like 65 ticks. That would mean the code 2 would only be good for 65 ticks. That's not going to be. The chances of that are highly unlikely. If this thing gives a code 3 short signal, I'm not going to take it, because it's highly, highly unlikely the code 2 is only worth 65 ticks. So it's going to go up more. Code 2 is very, very powerful. What most people have a problem with the code 2 is the entry. They get tricked out when the code 1 is working perfectly. They take it easily. When the code 1 is offset, they can't read the offset and lose on the trade. That's where you can just use code 3 then. Just use code 3 and you get it right. Just have to calculate the ticks, what you can get, and it has to be tracked. And then you'll know. You figure it out, then you go for the right ticks, and like magic it works. Anyway, I will come back. We've gotten a code 3 long signal, so another position long here would be warranted to take the code 3 long. And since I'm already long, I'm just going to hold it. But as it goes up like this, you can use the code on it still to see if it still wants to go higher. You can also use the code 2 and measure it. That's another extremely accurate way to know. In fact, that's the best way, actually. But actually, there are times when, let's say the average is like 80 ticks on the code 2, but there's times it'll move 200 ticks. Well, the code 3 will help you to stay in that kind of a trade. Anyway, I will come back. By the way, also here's the daily again. Notice again, we're at the top of a daily chart. I mean, virtually almost at the top right here. That's where it stays. It's where it mostly will stay. It's right there and or at the very top the whole time it goes up. Anyway, I'll come back. Unfortunately, I didn't hit a big exit there on the code 2, and I have got a code 3 short signal off of a special. So this one should be good. It's going to go back down here. It's still choppy. That's what it is. It's still choppy on the chart. This is daily right here. You see it broke up there, and now it just wants to come down again. So it's kind of like this one where it came down, this one where it came down. Now it looks like this one also wants to come down a bit. So I don't know how far it's going to go down. I have to follow the code 3 from here. But maybe get like 30-40 ticks or something. Anyway, I will come back. It was kind of a bummer I didn't hit the exit up there. Where did it go to? It went up to like 37. And let's see. Yeah, it was pretty good. Anyway, it's tight still. It doesn't really want to make big moves in one direction. So just take what the market gives right now. So I'm in a code 3 short entry here. I'm going to go for like, I don't know, 30-40 ticks. Something like that. I'll be back. Okay, I am out of that trade. Are you guys loving code 3 or what? This is really, really good. Code 3 is very good. But I also like code 2. Code 2 is also good. They both have their pros and cons. But they're both good. Anyway, I hope all of you are doing well in your trading. What time is it for me? It's 1 a.m. already. So yeah, I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. So anyway, hope you guys are doing well and hitting the trades. And as you can see, it's starting to open up here, and we're doing good. It's still not as opened up as I'd like to see it. You see the choppiness on the bars? Like, I thought that it was going to go up and continue to go up, but it didn't. And it gave a code 3 to go short and just, came all the way back down. And so, as you can see right here on the daily, it came all the way back down. And just barely have a green bar right now. Who knows? It might even go red here. So it's choppy. It's going up and down, which is, it doesn't really matter if it goes straight up or if it goes straight down, if it goes up and down or down and up. It doesn't really matter as long as you can get on the right side of the trade, which, as you can see with the code, I can do that. Anyway, I am going to get going. Hope all of you code traders are doing well, especially you new code 3 traders. You should be hitting these trades and doing well. So I hope that you are, and I will probably not see you tomorrow because tomorrow's Friday and I'm going to be busy, and then next week I'm going to be really busy. I am setting up the charting service. A new, bigger, better charting service is going to be a lot more valuable, a lot more helpful. We'll track it's going to be extremely profitable, this charting service. So hope all of you will love it. So anyway, I will be back soon to give you more updates, let you know what's going on. I'll have it online as soon as possible. And now that the code is moving, I mean the market's moving, I can start to analyze it a lot better and see what we should be doing. But right now I'm not playing with any break-even stops or anything like that, as you can see, and it's working. So anyway, if I don't trade on Friday, have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll talk to you sometime next week. Happy trading out there. We've got another code 3 short signal here. I don't think this thing's done, so I've taken the position short, and this is multiple back-to-back code 3 shorts here. So let's see what it wants to do. Here's the daily. We've got a beautiful bar up here. We've got a nice red bar here. This thing could really continue and drop out a bit. Let's take a look at the 10-minute again. Yeah, I was going to take off and go to sleep, but, well, I wasn't going to go to sleep, but I wasn't going to trade anymore. I decided to go ahead and come back because I saw that we had another code 3 signal, and this thing just going straight down. And daily looks very, very, very good. Taking a look at the code here. Let's see, I'm trying to think what would happen in this scenario. What time is it? 10:30 a.m. I'm not really sure, but my first inclination would be that it would continue to go down here. Yeah. Yeah, because it moved all the way from the top, all the way back down. We're still working with the code 3 short, but I believe there's been 3 of them, or something. I'm not sure how many. I mean 3 or maybe 4 in a row, code 3 shorts. I'm not sure how many there are usually. You have to look, you have to chart it out and we could see. But okay, we're coming up on a code 1 trade here. I can use this to get out with. Unless it goes short. It looks like it's going to go short. Yep, it's short. We have a code 1 short entry. These extra trades here are sometimes how you can really make a lot, because they do these surprise moves. See how this thing just keeps moving down? We're at the bottom of the daily, and it just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. This is the kind of thing where you're looking for a good sized trade here. Just continuing to go. We've got code 3 short, we've got a code 1 short, we've got another code 1 short, we've got another code 1 short. Man, this thing's just giving code entries like crazy. All giving you the right direction of which way to go. Don't let anybody fool you out there, ladies and gentlemen. The codes are the real deal. There is, unfortunately, for both you and me, a lot of people who, well, actually there really isn't a lot of people, but it seems like there's a lot of people who keep saying it's a scam, but they've been saying it for 7 years now. Somebody really was a scam. I don't think people would call that person a scam for 7 years. Might get a reversal. Oh, we already are broken here. Okay, it's time to get out. If it breaks the previous high it just made, which is like 83, I think. Yeah, 83. If it hits 84, I'm going to jump out. But we've already got a code 1 break. that means that code one's no good. It's an offset now. It's just a question of which way the offset will go. Go back and take a look at the 10-minute. Yeah, there's unfortunately a lot of people who, well, again, it's not a lot of people, but there are people out there who, for some strange, bizarre reason, don't want other people to know about this. And it's interesting. Sort of like an irony, I suppose. But anyway, there really is a secret about all of this, and I discovered it, and a person who is, you know, good at using it can do quite well. And there are a lot of people who are doing quite well. There are other people who, though, who do struggle. No doubt about that. There's people out there who struggle with the codes. But there's also a lot of people who do really well. So I think I learned a lot here that a lot of people, what it is people have trouble going from a market that is, let's go take a look at the daily. A market that is moving really big like this to going into like a really choppy mode, especially like on small little days like this, and it'll go really, really choppy. Those can be tough because you need to be able to tell what kind of a market you're in. And that kind of takes some experience. But do you see how it's moving right now? Let's go take a look at the 1 minute. Zoom in a little bit. Well, maybe zoom out a little bit. See how it's moving? Look at its action for a second. And it's late too, it's like 10:30. Well, how about just look at the 1 minute? Okay, you can see it right here. For the last couple of hours, look how much it's moved. We zoom out a little bit more. You know, it's moved quite a bit. It's moving. When you see it doing something like that, you see it moving. The more it's moved, the more it's likely to move. And so you're really waiting for it to make a move, make it to do something. And like for instance, the more it's moved one day, the more it'll move the next day. You see, it's like a ball rolling. Once the ball gets rolling, it's rolling pretty good. Yeah, it's sort of like what trading is like too. And but if it's really slow for whatever, really tight for whatever reason, then it's likely to stay slow and tight until it breaks open. And once it breaks open, then you're back to the normal trading again. So in order to get good at trading, you really have to be able to tell what kind of a market you're in at the time and take appropriate action. Like one guy, he had told me he's using code 3, and he was doing quite well with it because he was only going for like 20 ticks or maybe 30 ticks or 25 ticks, something like that. He was just going for a short amount, and he was hitting the trade because that's all it was going for. It was only going for a short amount and then go back the other way in a real tight, choppy market. But he was doing well with that strategy. You know, I personally don't like to play like that. because I don't like to play in tight markets, but you know, I'm not against anything that works. I'm always for anything that works. That's what we're trying. That's all we're trying to do when we trade is find things that work, right? So anything that works is good. Codes work. Codes work very good. And anyway, where are we at in this trade? Yeah, I was gonna get out at. It looks like I'm gonna have to get out here. Looks like it wants to bounce back up. Yep. Okay. I'll get out right there. I could probably take another code 3 trade here. Probably maybe bounce back up again, maybe. See, the more it moves, the more it's likely to move. But we are running out of time. So maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. But even if I don't, I'll come back and let you know. Okay, I'm not getting any more signals here, so I'm going to call it a night. And hope all of you Code 3 traders and all of you traders, Code traders period, are doing well. But you Code 3 traders should be nailing these trades today. Code 3 working really super good. And a lot of money to be made out there today. I should have did a lot better, but I was really thinking it was going to continue to go up. But anyway, did well enough. 100 ticks. Anyway, I will be back for some more code trading. Happy trading out there, everyone.